Hello, my dear friends. Good morning and good evening, and a warm welcome to one and all of you. I strongly believe that you're all very safe and staying healthy, and you're following the pandemic rules and the protocols. And please wear your mask and sanitize your hands and maintain the social distancing as is been prescribed by the government. And it's only for our well being they do all of these. And therefore, it's very important that we do all of these things with all of our heart and mind. All right, once again, a warm welcome to this session where we are dealing with various parameters of life. And time and again, what we always tend to do is help you to get the better side of the life and stay positive. And most importantly, these sessions build you as an overcomer. And you need to overcome the challenges in your life. And the more you overcome, the better you become. All right. All right. So without wasting any more time, today's session we have picked up a topic, very important topic, a quote which the father of Indian nation, Mahatma Gandhiji, told once: "If you don't ask, you don't get." Simple. And many people might have realized, right? That is another saying: "Only crying baby gets milk." Simple like that. But then we are going to discuss in this session about the various aspects of how to ask, where to ask, when to ask, whom to ask, right? And also about the mannerisms, right? Many things we are going to discuss it together, and stay tuned. It's going to be a very important session. Why? Because there is a way to ask. If you don't ask, refraining from should I ask or not, I'm really shy, and you may be an introvert, and then you are the loser. Therefore, you need to ensure that you overcome such behavior, the shyness and stuff like that, and then you come to the position where you are basically bold enough to face the crowd, bold enough to face and ask what you want. All right, we will be going through various aspects, but to set the set the basics, right? What is the meaning if you don't ask, of if you don't ask and you don't get it, right? The meaning, what is the meaning of this quote? See, don't ask, don't get it. It's a short phrase with a lot of meaning attached to it. Obviously, without meaning, our father of nation, Indian nation, wouldn't have said this, right? Often in life, we can hold back asking for what we want or expressing our needs, as we worry about what the other person's reaction might be, could be, right? And because of these reasons, we hold back various thoughts. Now, why do people say don't ask? There is also a good connection to that, right? Now save this word like a phrase used to fend off questions about a situation. One finds it very awkward, right? Unpleasant, or kind of unsatisfactory to come forward and ask. For example, how did we do in the bridge tournament? Don't ask. Once you know that they have lost the tournament, you cannot go and ask the team, how do you feel and how are you feeling. Some people like to trigger the negatives when the game is over and you have not won. Just leave it there and give it some time and then take it through introspection. Same applies to the life also. Now, what is the meaning of don't ask me? That sounds like a rude tense, isn't it? Now, that used to say that one doesn't know the answer to the question, right? Why they're having a company meeting, don't ask me, right? Is a kind of a rude expression. You could instead say that instead of saying don't ask me, you can say, hey, I'm not aware of this concept, I'm completely new to it, so please excuse me, right? Excuse me is different from don't ask me. Therefore, these are the things which we need to pay attention. Now, there are other things which we are going to really get closer. Now, is it bad to ask a lot of questions? Right? Many people don't even have a proper understanding whether is it good or bad to ask a lot of questions or not. See, even asking the question is good habit, but if you are asking a lot of questions, that means you are willing to learn. You're keen to learn. You are dynamic. You want to learn more things. You want to build your knowledge and stuff like that. Now, it's faster still for you to find your own answers because they will create more questions which you can continue to research if you want to learn. Because why? The learning spree is infinite. Yeah, until your last breath, you can still learn aspects of life, aspects of your profession, aspects of your various parameters in life. You definitely have no end to learn. See, knowledge is Education is knowledge, and knowledge is your kind of lifeline. You want to live a good life, a healthy life, prosperous life, victorious life, then learning should continue until your last breath. Now, some people ask, why do I ask a lot of questions? Some people can't, they're not able to control. So there are many reasons associated why someone might ask too many questions, but we will see the few aspects of it, right? For example, the person might be a very anxious type and need to keep up the conversation because for some reasons the person is an extrovert too. Extrovertial candidature plus anxiety, like a chatterbox, equal to chatterbox. That's an equation. Okay. So, or the person may not have the social etiquette, right, to know when the questions belong to feel invasive rather than, signaling genuine interest. What I'm trying to say here is, you expressing your genuine interest, you need to study the atmosphere, study the environment, study the audience, and in the previous session you might be very very proactive and social in asking questions, but this session is completely different. Therefore, based on the gathering, based on the atmosphere, based on the audience, the mood and stuff like that, you really need to control yourself sometimes. Yeah, understood, you are an extrovert, but you need to learn to control your emotions too, right? He's asking a questions, sign of intelligence or sign of somebody very intellectual, or in other words, is it something like an intellectual person is the only one who can ask questions? In fact, asking questions is a common phenomena. There is no intellectual aspect or there is no feeble character aspect here, right? It's a sign of strength. That's all. And intelligence, of course, is also part of your. If you're strong enough, if you're bold enough, you are intellectual. That's it. You don't have to be a scientist to invent anything, right? Not a sign of weakness or uncertainty if you are bold and coming forward to ask questions. Intelligent questions simulate, in fact, provoke, inform, and inspire, right? These are all the four nomenclatures. Stimulating a question and then, provoking oneself to ask question, then informing and then inspiring questions. All these things are part of your intellectual caliber, which people will discover anyway. So you don't have to press hard towards that. Finally, some people are in such a hurry to get with things that they do not stop to ask questions because it might slow them down, and they cannot be slow. Maybe they are quick to talk, or they just cannot hold back for their turn, for their chance, they're quite hasty. What if someone else has asked this question, like the competitive attitude, right? You need not be in competition to ask questions. Let the other person ask the question. You don't gain any. See, for some people, asking questions means they become more popular, they get attention. So that is a kindergarten attitude. You should really quit that attitude or habit. Okay. Now there is a concept of 5 W's. Many professionals will know this, especially the engineers will know this, right? 5 W stands for who, what, where, when, why, right? Now, you frame your question based on these nomenclatures, it will be a very very sensible question. And importantly, you also need to apply it to yourself before you ask this question. To whom are you asking question? What question are you asking, right? Where are you asking this question? When do you ask this question? Why do you ask this question? If you question this to yourself before you open your mouth and ask a question, that question is an intellectual question for sure. They have done a lot of researches. The 5 W's is an analysis method which is comprising of several stages that question the fundamental characteristic of a characteristics of a situation, right? And therefore it is definitely going to help you to frame your question, to sharpen your question, refine your question. So, what are some? There are a lot of flirting guys and flirting females too. When they fall in crush, they tend to ask these questions. If you are a good person, if you are not into that flirting character, you can make out the other person. The opposite side guy is uh, trying to flirt with you, or the girl is trying to flirt, freak out with you, right? They may ask questions like this. See, I'm telling this because there are a lot of teenagers listening to this, so you should be aware. Where is your favorite place that I can take you where we can spend time together? Then you can understand that guy is trying to flirt. um, uh, what would you do if I suddenly kiss you? These are the kind of crazy questions, and these definitely requires corrections, right? This is not right. Now, how do you what is the color you like, and something like that? What do you think when you had first seen me? Huh? All these things he's trying to gain attention, get attraction, and all that. And same applies to the female gender too, right? Therefore, there is something wrong. Time to revisit those questions to yourself and please correct it. It's not good, but it denotes a flirtish character for the youngsters. I mean to say this. Next category is, what are the 7 types of questions that are popularly known to be in any category, any profession, any field you go. These 7 types of questions will definitely survive and exist. First thing is close questions. Close questions means you are not giving an opportunity for the other guy to answer, right? You ask certain crazy questions. For example, an interviewer is asking the politician, like, last time the riots happened, and many people say that you are the reason, and it is also proven in the court that you are the reason. You're putting the guy in an embarrassing situation, asking him to address on something the public is aware and the judgment has been proclaimed. You're asking again to justify. And many politicians, they go berserk and violent. And for example, in the interview, many people end up asking some questions like, what is this color of the shirt that you're wearing for an interview? Doesn't matter, right? You have to test his intellectuals and skills, and you need to give a job, or release the offer based on his talent and not on the color of the shirt. So crazy questions, which is like closed ended, and the person would not have any attitude to reply back. So when you are on the interviewing side, you really need to have some sense to ask such certain questions, about which I will touch upon as we progress, right? There are open questions which you can ask very freely, frankly, but then put a disclaimer: hey, can I please ask a personal question? It's not about your hobby and all that. And they ask a personal question like, I heard that you have gone through a divorce. Could you please describe frankly what exactly happened? It is very personal and it's an open question, therefore you need to be careful. Probing questions, like, this is also an example for probing about a person's personal behavior. Leading questions in the sense that question leads to another question, or let that question leads to another situation or another answer. Therefore it is going to trigger lots and lots of it's like a derivative mechanism. You derive something out of something, right? And loaded questions, you're going to make the person talk for the next 1 hour, because the question is going to be so heavy, and framing such question requires lot of intellectuals, seriously. Because why, you would have put in a lot of hard work and homework. And the loaded question is one good category that tells the quality of your hard work and how much you desire to have that interaction, right? And what is that? The next is rhetorical question, right? It could be related to a specific matter where you're dealing with it. Likewise, you have so many types, but I think this is good enough, right? So why am I speaking all of this is because you need to know which type you belong to. You need to know that 5 Ws I taught you, right? 5 Ws plus this type of question, when you mix it proportionately, your question will become a valid question. No question will become invalid. In fact, no question is a bad question, but there are valid questions which you need to ask, right? Yeah, you're attending a kind of a seminar which is about software, and you're going to ask a question about, hey, Virat Kohli's fifth century, in which game and which place did he hit? Right? It's people go berserk. It's not a sports forum or a seminar that you need to ask sports related questions. So that matters. Now, exactly, I'm reaching to that point. No question is a bad question, but what is a good question to ask? Many people ask this. Like, for example, you could already ask, like, who is your inspirer? Good question. You can learn, right? You may not be knowing about that person. If you would live anywhere, where it would be? Which is your preferable place? Nice question, right? What is your biggest fear? You can also understand whether that is something that you are going through or not. What is your favorite family vacation, right? Which place you visit the most? What would you change about yourself if you could? What are the changes you want to impose to yourself? You also can learn from that person. What really makes you angry? You also can understand what annoys the most. What motivates to work hard? What is your favorite thing about your career? These are some of the sensible questions which you tend to ask in a very social way. Any fair, any forum, these kind of questions are generic and it suits. And that's why they've done analysis. I'm not playfully talking something here, but they've done some analysis and they've discovered this. right? There is a mannerism to ask question. Therefore, we are going to talk a bit about that, not in detail, but mannerism is like table manners, they say, right? Likewise, asking question, you just cannot open your mouth and boom, you cannot vomit on a person, right? The question properly phrased is, may I please ask you a question? This is how you should begin. You cannot simply ask a question just like that. You need to have the mannerism. It is the considerate and polite way of asking permission. In Europe, they really follow this, but in US, they may not. As asking the question in the first place usually implies it is personal to the degree that might be uncomfortable or intrusive for the person. The kind of questions you may be asking, right? You may be asking in the right sense, but the person may not perceive in the right sense. But you know what? When you tone it with this permission of, may I ask you a question, that person's mind opens up. So even you ask a crazy question, he will be still be able to welcome that. Why? Because you respect his time, you respect his presence, and you're asking him, can I please take your permission to ask you a question? What a wonderful attitude, right? People would love that. What kind of person asks a lot of questions? That is another category. Person who is very inquisitive. Inquisitive behavior is always wants to find out what is on the other side of the shore. See, mind your business. Now, why are you getting into everything and everywhere? If it is related to you, it will anyway reach you, or you could find out if it is related to you. But many this inquisitive behavior, no, that matter won't be connected to them by any means and by any at any point of time in their life. But still, they want to cross that path and they want to learn. They want to. It's like gossiping character. Learning is different, but knowing and gossiping and then spreading the matter and blowing it and adding more fuel to the burning fire, that is inquisitive actually. The straight up direct answer to your question is inquisitive behavior. An inquisitive person is one given to asking questions. There are other words to call such a person, but they depend on it depends on their attitude and the feelings they elicit in others. So don't try to be that proby character or look for some kind of topic that you could gossip about. What are the mannerisms, specific mannerism? We spoke about the guidelines for mannerism, but the specific mannerism to ask questions, especially during interview. For example, you are working in a professional background and your only job is to interview, and therefore you are in the process of asking questions. So all the professionals make a note. Even you are on this side of a candidate, you can expect the interviewer to ask these kind of questions. So both ways it helps, right? What is your greatest weakness? Many interviewers ask, and strengths and weaknesses in interview is a common thing. Why we should hire you? People ask this question. Why the company should trust you? Why you made this company as a choice? Why do you want this job specifically, this role? Or how do you deal with a conflict with another coworker? What's something that you didn't like about your last job? These are common questions that people ask. It's good for the interviewer, it's good for the audience. I mean, not audience, the candidate. So you can expect these questions. So go prepared. These are all common questions. Now, what are we talking about? If you don't ask, you don't get, right? Applies for the interviewer in this case. If you don't ask, you won't get the right attitude of the candidate sitting in right in front of you, revealed or manifested. Therefore, you need to ask. And similarly, candidate, when they ask, you have to respond in a certain way. Don't lie, be honest. But don't be over honest to be a fool. That is also a proverb. So you balance it accordingly, whatever it suits. Now, what are the few tips of asking good questions? With this, we will close the session. The tips and guidelines, the basic tips. You need to basically plan your questions. My friends, I will tell you what, many people end up in a room, they won't know how to knock and open the door. They just open the door, they barge in, hey, come, let's go for a coffee. Huh? Something like that. Have you seen? No mannerism, no respect. Maybe however the close the friend is, but still there are basic respect you need to have. Similarly, you also need to plan your questions, plan your day, plan your hour, and plan also in such a way that what could be the consequence and the reaction when you ask this question to a person, right? This is number one tip. And then know the purpose, know your purpose. Is it necessary to ask this question, right? Or else don't ask. You have nothing to get, then why are you asking? If you want something, you ask a question to get it, right? But you don't want it, there is no purpose, unmeaningful question, why are you asking? Thirdly, have a speak in the listener's language. For example, the person is not so fluent to understand English. Therefore, you need to basically ensure that the person is also able to cope up with your language, with your pace, and stuff like that, right? Uh, then the next thing is use neutral wording. Neutral wording in the sense, pick up a common English language. Don't complicate it with the higher tense and higher degree, and use some common words and stuff like that when you ask such questions. It's easily sellable, right? You don't lose your dignity. So you're not addressing a press conference that you need to have all this unneutral wordings and stuff like that. Follow general questions, especially with specific what to say, specific tense associated to it. Let your question be very specific. Don't ask a lengthy question that itself becomes an answer. That doesn't sound like a question. What will the person answer, right? Because you are actually speaking an answer and not asking a question. Lastly, focus your questions so that they ask one thing at a time that is connected to the previous thing. Don't ask lengthy, but then even you focus on a certain thing, let it be crisp and short. You don't basically give a lengthy question. The person don't know how to fragment it and they get misled. They don't understand things and stuff like that. All right. I strongly hope and believe that this was a very useful session. This is all about how you present yourself in the situations and circumstances where you want to really ask certain questions. And I hope and believe that this helped you. Please comment and give us feedback on the content and the audio quality, video quality, whatever. And let us know if you need new topics like this. We will help you always. Subscribe to our channel, get access to all the playlists and the videos, and stay blessed, and please share it with your friends, right? This is going to help them. Bye. Take care and stay safe.